color, they treat people of color much different. It's made a little harder for a person of color to enter the States. That's a fact.
Another presidential election is upon us, and we're told about the importance of this particular election, that the stakes are high because of much division. But hasn't that always been the case throughout the history of this nation? With slavery, the Civil War, separation of church and state, which was really about the state not interfering with the church. But that's another issue at another time to discuss, along with women's rights and civil rights, along with today's hot buttons of COVID-19 and mask wearing, and many other topics that there has been division on. So in contrast, every election has been and will be important because there's always been division and continued strife in these so-called United States, which is the greatest country on earth, as I've always said. But the country, just like the human element of it, is flawed. Both sides of the two mainstream ways of thinking and voting, be it Republicans and Democrats, or another way of saying it is liberals and conservatives, believe wholeheartedly that they are on the right side. Here's a comparison between Democrats or liberals versus Republicans or conservatives.
All right, conservative and liberals, Republicans and Democrats. So what I'm going to do is have a side-by-side comparison. So you have to follow along with me, make a mental vision of it, or write it down as I go along, or write it down as you go along with me. Now, I'll give you the definition of liberals and conservatives. First, liberals. Liberals generally believe in governmental action to achieve equal opportunity and equality for all, and that it is the duty of the government to reduce community issues and to protect civil liberties and individual and human rights. They also believe in the role of the government should be to guarantee that no one is in need. Liberal policies generally emphasize the need for the government to solve people's problems. So more or less it's depending on the government more so to help people out, while conservatives generally believe in personal responsibility, limited government, free markets, individual liberty, traditional American values, and a strong national defense. They also believe the role of the government should be to provide the people the freedom necessary to pursue their own goals. And conservative policy generally emphasize empowerment of the individual to solve problems. Conservatives are often referred to as being on the right, while liberals are often referred to as being on the left. So, now that you have the idea of what a liberal is and what a conservative is, and generally speaking, both sides have valid points, both sides have valid ideas, just going from the definition of the two. It tends to sway when there is an extreme left of it and an extreme right of it. And that's where the problems can really come into focus and play. Now I've got about 11 issues here that are the general forefront of things, so I'll go over them. First one is the death penalty. And also I want to keep in mind that in the middle you have Moderates. Those are the ones in the central of things. Now, the two major parties are, again, liberals, conservatives, Republicans, Democrats. So being in the middle, it's not so much of the majority, so to speak, but in most of these situations that you'll see, there has to be a center of focus. The death penalty. Liberals want to abolish the death penalty. The death penalty, they say, is inhumane and cruel and unusual punishment, and it does not prevent crime. Imprisonment is the appropriate punishment. Every execution risks killing an innocent person, they say. Conservatives say the death penalty is a punishment that fits the crime. It is neither cruel nor unusual, and executing a murderer is the appropriate punishment for taking an innocent life. Now, where God comes into this, you have to remember here, especially in the Old Testament, when God laid down the law, so to speak, when it was time to do an execution, He took no prisoners. When He said for you to go in and take out everybody, including animals, He meant that. He meant that. In regards to these type of situations, when it comes to the law of the land, we should be somewhere in the middle on this. In the middle, I mean, whereas this is my point of view on that, okay? But I've already given you God's perspective on this. It should be capital punishment. It should be. But it should be in a sense of without a doubt conviction. If there's any doubt whatsoever, then that person being convicted should not have the death penalty. If there's no doubt whatsoever, everybody is in agreement that said person did this, such a heinous crime, then execution should take place. Execution should take place. Sometimes we try to be, as a society, try to be so holier than thou that we think of ourselves above God. When we will say that it's barbaric, we'll even say when it comes to corporal punishment, spanking a child, that it's barbaric. And what does God say on that? God says, spare the rod, you spoil a child. In other words, He says it's okay to spank. Now, not to go off on another subject here, but I hope you get the gist of what I'm saying on that. But in this situation, this type of punishment is needed. Now, people will say, well, it doesn't deter. That's because it doesn't deter because, first of all, the process takes way too long. And no, it shouldn't be quick and, the way they used to do back in the days of the Old West. But there should be a process, and the process should not take so long. And like I said, when it's a situation of doubt, if doubt comes into play, then no, you don't do a death penalty. But I guarantee if we were more in that line, and also if we didn't take so long, like a 20-year process for them to be on death row, I think it would be much more of a deterrent. Okay, next one. The economy. Liberalism favors a market system in which government regulates the economy. They say we need government to protect us from big businesses. Unlike the private sector, the government is motivated by public interest. They say we need government regulation to level the playing field. Conservatives say the free market system, competitive capitalism, and private enterprise afford the widest opportunity and the highest standard of living for all. Free markets produce more economic growth, more jobs, and higher standards of living than those systems burdened by excessive government regulations. The next one is the environment. Liberals sometimes believe that conservatives don't care as much about protecting the environment. Liberals will argue the industrial growth can harm the environment. They argue global warming is caused by an increased production of carbon dioxide. The U.S. is a major contributor to global warming because it produces 25% of the world's carbon dioxide. The U.S. should enact laws to significantly reduce the amount, and if it reduces some economic growth, then so be it. Now, conservatives want clean water, clean air, and a clean planet, just like everyone else. However, extreme environmental policies destroy jobs and damage the economy. Changes in global temperatures are natural over long periods of time. So far, science that is, has not shown that humans can affect permanent change to the Earth's temperature. Now, concerning the environment, God tells us to protect the planet, to take care of the planet. Now, again, this can come to one extreme to the other. In that regard, there should be some common sense to it. Because I know on one stream with liberals, they can go too far in protecting certain things. With this, again, it's all about coming together. Both sides want it. It's just that one is more adamant about it than the other. And really, it's not a hard thing to figure out, but for some reason, it is. Then we have gun control. We have gun control. Liberals say the Second Amendment gives no individual the right to own a gun, but allows the state to keep a militia, be it National Guard, armed forces. They say guns kill people, guns kill children. Conservatives say the Second Amendment gives the individual the right to keep and bear arms. Gun control laws do not thwart criminals. You have a right to defend yourself against criminals. More guns means less crime. Again, that's a situation where there has to be a common ground again. Now, you're going to hear me say this more often, but there has to be a common ground. So, in that regard, what does the Bible say about guns? Or what does the Bible say about protecting oneself? So, let's go to, in the Bible, let's go to Luke chapter 22, verses 35 and 36. Luke 22, verses 35 and 36. Ready? Read. Jesus speaking, Jesus said to them, "When I sent you out without a wallet, bag, or sandals, you didn't lack anything, did you?" They said nothing. Then he said to them, "But now, whoever has a wallet must take it, and likewise a bag, and those who don't own a sword must sell their clothes and buy one." So what is he saying? He said, those who don't own a sword must sell their clothes and buy one. What he's saying is, protect yourselves. Now, nowhere in Scripture does it say that Christians can't protect themselves or their family. What we should never do, though, is seek revenge. We must be slow to anger and handle all situations with wisdom. Now, here are a few examples. If someone breaks into your house at nighttime and you don't know if that person is armed or what they came to do, if you happen to shoot him, you're not guilty. If that person breaks into your house in the daytime and sees you and starts to run, if out of anger you run after him and shoot him, you are guilty. A person posing a threat to you is different from someone who is not. If someone punches you in the face as a Christian, you must walk away and try not to retaliate. I know as men we have pride and we think of ourselves that I'm not going to let someone just punch me and get away with it. But we must let go of the pride and use biblical discernment. Even if we know we can beat that person up. Now, it's one thing if someone punches you once and leaves you alone. But it's different if someone is chasing after you in relentless pursuit or attack and tries to do you bodily harm. You or your family. And this is a situation where you have to defend yourself. If you can run, run. But if you can't and someone poses a threat, you do what you have to do. And it's perfectly fine as a Christian to own a firearm or train in boxing or karate, whatever it may be. But it's perfectly fine to defend yourselves. All right, next one, healthcare. Liberals support universal government supervised health care. And there are millions of Americans who can't afford health insurance. They are being deprived of a basic right to health care. Conservatives say free health care provided by the government is socialized medicine. And socialism or socialized is a bad word for conservatives. It means that everyone will get the same poor quality health care. The rich will continue to pay for superior health care while all others will receive poor quality and free health care from the government. Health care should remain privatized, is what conservatives say. All I know is, I'll just leave it like this, whereas the Lord wants us to take care of one another. I'll leave it like that. Immigration. Liberals support legal immigration and increasing the number of legal immigrants permitted to enter the U.S. each year. Support blanket amnesty for current illegal immigrants. Believe that regardless of how they came to the U.S., illegal immigrants deserve U.S. government financial aid for college tuition, visas for spouse and children to come to the United States, and families shouldn't be separated. Illegal immigrants do the jobs that Americans do not want to do. It says conservatives support legal immigration at current numbers, but do not support illegal immigration. Government should enforce immigration laws, oppose President Bush's amnesty plan for illegal immigrants. Those who break the law by entering the U.S. illegally should not have the same rights as those who obey the law by entering legally. If there were a decrease in cheap illegal immigrant labor, employers would have to substitute high-priced domestic employees, legal immigrants, or perhaps increase mechanization. Now, to me, there's a the right and wrong on both sides, both issues. For one thing, when it comes to immigration, the key word is illegal. 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 Okay. Now, me personally, I'm not for keeping someone illegal and then giving them rights of those that are legal. Now, at the same time, I'm not about separating families, separating children from mothers and fathers, separating fathers from families and so forth. I'm not about that. This is another one of those situations where you come down the middle on this. And also, I've heard of situations when it comes to immigration that those of color are not treated the same. Okay, with conservatives, they support legal immigration at current numbers but do not support legal immigration. Government should enforce immigration laws, oppose President Bush's amnesty plan for illegal immigrants. Those who break the law by entering the U.S. illegally should not have the same rights as those who obey the law by entering legally. Again, I say there should be a middle ground with this. I see wrongs on both sides of this. First of all, with liberals, to say that everybody is legal but yet illegal, you got some that are illegal, is wrong. And I understand of wanting to do good with humanity, but stick with me on this. At the same time, what do? We have each state is allocated money, and it goes by the census. So if we have illegals pertaining to each state, that money allocated will see a significant impact or decrease because of illegal immigrants that have not been counted. Now, at the same time, those situations where people are separated, families are separated, mothers from sons and daughters, fathers from their families as a whole, that's not good. That is not what God is about. That is not what God is about. And at the same time, I've also seen or heard about whereas the immigration laws, when it comes to people of color, they treat people of color much different. It's made a little harder for a person of color to enter the States. That's a fact. And that's not right. So therefore, again, I see both situations and both sides of the story, but there should be a sensibility about this. There should be a middle of the pack, so to speak. There should be a redefinement and some common sense along with it. Liberals, when it comes to religion, they said they support the separation of church and state, and religious expression has no place in government. Well, we know where God sides on that. Conservatives say the phrase separation of church and state is not of the Constitution. The First Amendment to the Constitution states Congress shall not make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting free exercise thereof. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. This prevents the government from establishing a national church. However, it does not prevent God from being acknowledged in schools and government buildings. So in other words, what they also have been saying is society itself is that there should be separation of church and state. What it really means is that the state is not to interfere with the church. This is basically that's what they were saying in the conservative part of that. But like I said, we all know where God lands on that one. Also, same-sex marriage. We definitely know where God lands on that one. Liberals say that marriage should be legal for gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender couples to ensure equal rights for all. All individuals, regardless of their sex, have the right to marry. Believe that prohibiting same-sex citizens from marrying denies them of their civil rights. Opinions differ on whether these issues is equal to civil rights for African Americans. And no, it is not equal. It's two different subjects, two different things. Two different things. So I wish they would stop mixing the two together. That is two different things when it comes to civil rights. Conservatives say marriage is between one man and one woman. Opinions differ on support for the creation of a constitutional amendment establishing marriage as a union of one man and one woman, believing that requiring citizens to sanction same-sex relationships violates moral and religious beliefs of millions of Christians, Jews, Muslims, and others who believe marriage is the union of a man and woman. What has God said on that? Enough said. Enough said. Leave it right there. Taxes. Liberals support higher taxes and a larger government. Higher taxes allow the government to do good and create jobs. We need high taxes for social welfare programs to provide for the poor. We can't afford to cut taxes. Conservatives say support lower taxes and a smaller government. Lower taxes create more incentive for people to work, save, invest, and engage in entrepreneurial I can't get this word. Lord help me. You know what I'm saying. I can't even get the word out right now. Entrepreneurial endeavors. I'm still having a hard time with this word. I can't believe it. Okay. Money is best spent by those who earn it, is what conservatives say. Welfare. Liberals say support welfare. We need welfare to provide for the poor. Conservatives oppose welfare because they are not compassionate toward the poor. We have welfare to bring fairness to American economic life. Without welfare, life below the poverty line would be intolerable.
We mustn't see one individual as a messiah or savior. We should give respect to the position, and in so doing, God is pleased in return. But concerning an individual, he or she should be a person of wisdom and intelligence, but we should never place them above God. Both sides of the aisle make valid points, but what we should focus on overall is the Lord himself, because he will cover in all ways the problems and contentions that we have. And we are better as individuals and as a nation when we truly trust in him and abide in his will and ways of thinking. If we want to be the United States, then we must be united in the will of the Almighty. Hello, everyone. What I try to do is convey to your intelligence, because those that I associate with or are friends with are smart, and including the listening audience, or those that watch me outside of my personal realm. And what I mean is people who check out Fantline are people that are looking to learn and grow. And from time to time, I'll give a little fluff and humor, but the main content of my platform is a renewed mind and edification with God's direction. So do me a favor, hit like or thumbs up or leave a comment, but let me know you're there and share. What I say to you, I say to myself. Enough said. Fantline.com is where you need to be if you're about growth and evolving as a person. And Fantline.com is about truth. Oh no, not my truth, God's truth. And if you're not about God's truth, then this isn't the website for you. If you're into gossip, then this isn't the website for you. And if you're not into learning and growing as a person, then again, this isn't the website for you. So come on, have some knowledge dropped on you. Or are you scared of what you may find out? So go to Fantline.com, or if you're into a listening mode, go to my podcast at anchor.fm/Marvin-Fant for Fantline 100. Either way, you'll learn something, and every so often I'll give away cash prizes, but you'll have to check out Fantline.com. Enough said.